Welcome to our webinar. We are doing 5 ways for women in law to empower their style. You'll be surprised. My name is Faye Gelb and I'm your host. Today we're interviewing Melanie Lippman. Melanie is a personal stylist. I'm super excited about this because as I was mentioning before, I've never had one. And she is an image consultant, confidence coach, and she specializes in up-leveling professional women's wardrobes. She also does virtual and in-person consultations. So welcome, Melanie, to our webinar.
Thanks for having me.
Super excited. So I'm just going to give everybody an outline of what we're doing today. We're going to go into the background of why we develop a style, how it comes about. Melanie's going to be showing us some boards and some clothing styles and teaching us about that. She's also going to go over the 5 ways women can empower themselves, and that is with looking at typical situations where we have clothing and how to deal with our style in those circumstances. She will also be looking up how to up version our clothing. And the third thing will be about how to deal with our messaging. Are we conveying what we want to, and how we can change that? We are also going to be looking at a color analysis. And finally, we'll be finishing off with how to attract your ideal client. So hopefully we can get all of that in 45 minutes. And at the end, we'll have a chance for questions. If you have a question at any time, please feel free to put it into the chat and we'll get to it as soon as we can. So Melanie, let's just start off. I really am interested to know, how do we develop a style other than just like the baggy look?
So style has to do with a whole lot of stuff, and that is why I think a lot of times it becomes overwhelming, especially to women that are very strategic and like to have a method, where style is thought of as something that is really creative and just kind of a little bit all over the place. But I always encourage my clients to not think of it that way. That style is absolutely 100% strategic. And you have to think about your clothing as the largest form of nonverbal communication. You walk into a room, you get on a Zoom call, you look at someone's post on social media, your data, you all know about data. Within 7 seconds, our brain is forming just conclusions, opinions, all of that. And 55% of that first opinion really has to do with the way that we present ourselves. So that's what I love my clients to do, is to let all that like fancy trend stuff go away. That doesn't fit your need. It's really about your personal style and what your own personal brand needs to do for you.
So where do we start?
So where we start, of course, is I have a little slide that we could kind of start off with here just to give some examples. So the first thing that I have my clients do is to create a Pinterest board, really fun. I give them their own virtual credit card. So you can go on a shopping spree and you can go and buy any single thing that you like. So the one thing that I find is really, really important when it has to do with developing your personal style or thinking about the way that you want to dress, the way that you want to show up, or what you actually like, is sometimes hard because we're very hard on ourselves. Lawyers in law school are trained to be perfectionists. Sorry, ladies, you are. You all know it.
Exactly.
So it's hard to almost ask yourself what you like, because it's not really a fact, it's more of an opinion. So what I have my clients do is start with one Pinterest board specifically, and that's called This Is Me, If Only. And that's where I let all of the barriers, all of the things, all of the limiting beliefs of your mom putting you in floral poofy skirts when you were 10 years old, or an aunt that said you had a really long neck and you shouldn't be wearing V-necks, or all of those things that like layer on year after year when it comes to getting dressed. You get to let all of that go because you're not spending any money. You're just creating this whimsical board of things that really, really inspire you and things that you find beautiful.
So you're trying to get to who you really are underneath all the programming.
You think is beautiful. Because what I find a lot when I ask a woman, especially a type A woman, what they like, they always will say, that's really pretty, but I couldn't pull that off. Or I really like that you're wearing a pink cardigan, but that's too feminine. I can't wear that in my office. They're going to call me the girly girl. Like, there's always these like, that you start to kind of like something and then you almost block yourself. You're like, nope, can't do it. Got to go back to my black blazer. So in this situation, you're not buying anything. You're not investing anything. So you're actually just creating this mood board of things that you really find beautiful and inspiring. And I know that's hard sometimes. So I suggest doing it in two separate ways. One is take yourself out of the equation. Make it for your best friend, your sister, your mom, someone that you love and that you would like to see them at their most up-leveled self. So like, let's say it's for your daughter. So how you would picture your daughter at your age dressing, how you would want her to dress. You want her to be fearless. You want her to be empowered. You want her to like wear what she enjoys and not what someone told her to. So make that board using her in mind to let yourself go. The other way that's also really freeing is think about how you decorate your home or what you like in home decor or what you are attracted to when it comes to architecture. It's so much easier for us to go to like a Home Goods or go to like one of those stores that sell $20 pillows and buy that because, you know, if we don't like it in 3 months, we'll get rid of it. It's so much easier to do that than to put it on our physical body and have someone maybe say that they don't like it. So it's so much easier when it's for something that's in our home. So I'll show you an example of some of the boards that my clients have come up with just to give you an idea. So first, we'll start with, this is who I'd like to be. So maybe you don't wear dresses, or maybe all of your dresses are black, but you love the idea of introducing into your wardrobe some colors or some prints or some patterns like Kate Middleton. Or maybe you always wear a black suit, or you always wear a boring kind of combination of pants and a top, and you would love the idea of maybe wearing a colorful pant, or maybe trying something that has a belt, or maybe wearing—
I have to say, as you're doing this, my first thought is, I couldn't pull this off. So it's
Right,
exactly what
exactly.
you're
But that's
talking
not what
about.
this is about. This is like, wow, like it's like, think about looking at a magazine and you being like, this is so unrealistic, but it's not my life. But you're attracted to it. Like, think of like if you're like walking down the street and you see some woman like impeccably dressed. If someone is making you look at them twice, it's because you see yourself in them. If you admire someone, it's because you see yourself in that person. So if you're taking a second look at, like, let's say a gorgeous pair of hot pink shoes when you're walking by in the store, maybe it doesn't fit your lifestyle, but there's something about it that you're attracted to. Otherwise, your brain wouldn't even like take a second look at it. So you just want to observe the things that you are taking a second look at, or the things that you're attracted to, because it means something. Again, it's data. It has nothing, you're not going and buying it, but it has to do with data. So you really want to make sure that you're noticing the things that you're attracted to. Again, here's like another version of just things that have a little bit more of color in them, or a pair of, let's say, you know, a leather pant as opposed to a regular pant, or just, you know, a bag that's not a tote bag that carries your laptop. Like, what would that look like if you could carry a bag that, you know, isn't like a work related bag? Or interesting color combinations, or a long skirt. Like, I know myself, like, long skirts, I'm 5 feet tall, don't really look so great on me, but I think that that's beautiful and I would love it to look good on me. It's just taking an idea of the things that you're like, wow, I really, really like that, and I think it's pretty. Doesn't mean you have to buy it. But
And where do we go with that?
So then I have my clients come back to reality and then really start to define what their lifestyle is. Because we need to then, like you said, come back to reality and pick 5 different things that happen in your life that you need to create outfits for. So whether it's like what you do on weekends, because a lot of times we forget about that we have a life outside of work, or what it's like, you know, how you like to spend your free time. Do you go on hikes? What do you do after work? Do you meet a friend for dinner? Do you cook at home? So really kind of think of the other situations besides work that happens, because I like everyone to think of their outfit as the whole being, as opposed to, I'm buying a shirt for work and that shirt is only worn to work. Like that, we need to be more holistic about our wardrobes.
So what you're saying is a style that we're developing, because I was always very put together when it came to being in court and that type of thing, but I found it very difficult to have a casual style. So what you're developing with women is a holistic look at themselves in terms of how they're going to pull that look off throughout the different types of situations they may be in or the different places that they may be.
Correct. And then the other thing also is that if it's something that you like on the weekends, let's say you wouldn't typically wear a floral top to the office, but you would wear it on the weekends. After maybe 6 months of you wearing the floral top on the weekend, you'd probably be more open to wearing it to work. So then how do you take that top and put it under a blazer to make it something that feels very you? Because that's the thing, is you don't want to ever show up in something that you're not comfortable in, because that's obvious. It's like, oh, we're like your mom's clothes today. You want it to feel very you. But if it's something you enjoy wearing on the weekends, you probably be more open to taking a chance wearing it into more of a corporate situation. And that's not saying that you're going to show up lime green and polka dots. It's maybe like trying a blue blazer instead of a black blazer, or wearing a more unique shoe, or wearing a different color under your blazer. So it's really kind of about how to up level what you currently have and how to make it a little bit more new and different.
So you're basically evolving. Your style can evolve over time in a way that you're comfortable and that makes sense to you. So you're not going from looking like Kate there to, you know, what you look like normally to Kate is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And that's what it's about, because it's baby steps. Any sort of transformation has to do with baby steps. So you're comfortable, so everyone around you doesn't think that you went and like had surgery or something like that. And then also it feels very good, because it's any sort of coaching it's a process. So if you all of a sudden went from like black to white, it just, you know, or hot to cold. That's why we have fall. It's why we have spring. Like there needs to be a gradual process that introduces you to new things. You get comfortable at it. You see what you like, what you don't like. You're like, I bought a pink necklace. I don't like pink. So you didn't buy a whole pink suit. I mean, I'm making a very, very drastic example, but that's kind of the idea, to try new things and to experiment.
So what would be some of the other types of situations that we would be looking at to, you know, decide on our typical situations? We've talked about work, you know, the weekends. What about a Zoom call?
So Zoom is something that I've been focusing a lot on. I actually have a slide that's a really great example of what to wear on Zoom. One of the things that you want to be really, really focused on Zoom is you need to be aware of what's going on behind you, and you need to be aware of your surroundings, because that actually becomes part of your outfit. So you want to make sure that it isn't fighting what you have going on. So you want to kind of be one with your environment. The other thing you also want to focus on with Zoom is that your clothes fit you properly, especially when we're working from home. We have a tendency to wear clothes that are more comfortable, but
Baggy.
Exactly. It is true. The camera adds 5 pounds. So if you are wearing something that's a little bit baggier, it's going to look so sloppy and so like horrible that you don't want to do that. Because besides the fact that the camera adds 5 pounds, you also don't have objects that you can see the proportion of with you. So you just kind of look like this big thing going on. And so if you have something that isn't like super, super structured, it all of a sudden looks huge. So you don't want to look sloppy. That's the last thing that you want to do. The other thing that you also really want to focus on is staying away from crazy, dizzy prints, because it's still a camera, it's a video, and it doesn't know what to do with it. So it becomes very busy. It's very distracting when you're wearing a print. So if you are going to wear a print, you want to tone it down with either a scarf or a cardigan or a blazer that is solid. So it's not something that's like adding to the static or the drama of what's going on in your video. And then the other thing also when it comes to Zoom is you want to stick with jewel tones. So these colors right here look good on everyone. It's not like something that's going to look bad on anyone. And they are the most flattering to you, because what happens with Zoom is, and with any video or any, camera, is it brings out the worst in you. So it shows your fine lines, it shows your wrinkles, it shows dark under eye circles. But if you're wearing these colors, they're so much more flattering and they look better on you.
So a color that we might not choose normally could actually look great on Zoom, in other words.
Right, but these are colors that flatter us in general. So these are colors that go into any single color palette, look good with any skin tone. So it's not like if you went and wore this, like let's say emerald green top outside, it's gonna look bad on you. These colors look good on every single person. The one color that looks really bad on Zoom is black.
Uh-oh. Bad news for most of us. So I also noticed though that it can really change the colors, because I am right now wearing a color that is one of these colors and it does not look like it at all. So it could be my background, it could be, you know, it has to be pretty vibrant, I would suggest, if you're going to actually have it show up this way, because it seems to be washing out my color completely today.
Right.
So I have a question here, and I just want to bring it up at this point. It says, any tips on what type of outfits and colors to wear for interviews, especially if you want the hiring manager or HR to take you seriously instead of seeing you as just a woman? So, you know, say it's on Zoom and we've got this interview here. How would you want to pull that together? You're, you know, an associate level or even higher, and you want to look like you have the authority to be taking on the new position.
I would avoid wearing black. I feel you want to stand out from the crowd. So just think like they're speaking to 10 other people. The likelihood that they're wearing a black blazer is probably 95% is that everyone else is wearing it. So how are you going to stand out? And the way that you're going to do that is with like an accessory, a necklace, or an earring with an interesting color. The thing also when it comes to color or with something that has a strong communication, it will get you noticed, it will make you memorable, and it'll also say that you're someone who has a presence that wants to be heard, and also that you are willing to be someone that can be in the spotlight, not that you're going to be someone in the corner who is going to hide. So I would definitely add some color to your wardrobe. The other thing is also you need to, especially when you're interviewing, let's say on Zoom, you need to show up the same exact way you would in person. So some people,
What's that mean?
I've gotten a lot of questions like from men, do I need to wear a tie? I'm like, well, would you wear a tie to the interview in person? Yes. So 1,000,000%, you put the tie on. Like you don't want anyone to think just because you're working from home that your work ethic is different than when you were in the office and someone is clocking your hours. So you even want to up level it probably even more to be like, I am 1,000,000% present. I am here to work and I am professional and I know what I'm doing.
I wanted to see, it says another one. It was whether or not we suffer enough pressure in terms of our appearance without having to worry about whether we match our kitchen when we're on a Zoom call. So maybe what I think we were getting at there was that the background can be pretty distracting, though, if it's something that's clashing with how you're presenting and how you're trying to come across.
So if you have a lot going on in your backgrounds, you don't want a lot going on you. One thing. There needs to be one focal point. So if you have your kitchen has a bunch going on, then you should stick to a solid color. Or you maybe want to be cognizant of the accessories you have on. So you want to not be like, you don't want it to be loud. So if your background's got a lot going on, your clothing shouldn't have a lot going on. If you kind of have a very plain background, then you could take that opportunity to wear a necklace, a pair of earrings, or something like that.
The other question we have is, can you talk about the pressure to speak conservatively and how this choosing color and patterns and other things that stand out plays in with that?
So the patterns and colors are 100% have to do with the message of nonverbal communication that you are sending. So if you're wearing something that's very bold and very dramatic, let's say red, for example, you're being thought of as someone who wants a sense of authority and someone to listen to them. If you're wearing something that's like a pastel, then you are someone who is thought as someone who's more approachable and a little bit warmer and friendlier. But as far as in a corporate environment and wanting to not get noticed, is that's kind of what the question is, to not stick out and not look like you are trying to do something that is
I
not
think
standard?
it's like you're not trying to stand out in a way that's contrary to the conservative environment that you're in. Like you want
Mhm.
to have that power and impact that you're talking about, but not stand out in a way that's jarring.
So I'll give you an example. So most people wear gray suits. Instead of wearing, this woman here is wearing a gray suit and she put a white shirt underneath it. Typical of that someone would do. It all goes together. Or you could put a black shirt underneath it. But instead of putting the white or black shirt, if you tried putting one of these colors underneath it, just a little bit different. It's not something that has like bright, like polka dots or something that's very hot pink. It's just changing the color of the shirt that's underneath it. Shows that you have a sense of style, shows that you thought about your outfit, is a little bit more unique and up leveled, but it's not something that's completely out of left field. You also can switch out your, black pumps for this here that's more of like a dusty rose color. So it's just like an up leveled version of the basics. So it's not dressing in a way that is like, wow, like where is she going after work? It's like, wow, she, put some effort in today and she looks good.
Right. So is there any other way, like we're talking about your shoes, your jewelry, some of the colors, some of the different patterns that can be combined, any other way that we can up level clothing to make it more of a style that suits us?
Sure. So the one thing that's really important is to know what your body type is. And when you know what your body type is, you know what flatters you and what looks good on you. So a lot of times I have clients coming to me after they have a child and they gained weight in different places. Things don't look the same as they did before. So for example, I had a client and her go-to was a sheath dress, which is like that tight dress. It's like a pencil skirt, but has a top that goes with it. It could either like be sleeveless or it could have a long sleeve with it. Usually when it's sleeveless, someone puts like a blazer or a cardigan over it. And it's a typical, I would say, lawyer dress that someone would wear. But after having a baby, she kind of had like a pooch that no matter what, she wasn't getting rid of. And her hips were a little bit wider. So in trading out that very tight look for something that flared out a little bit, and had a little bit more of like a feminine detail or kind of covering the problematic area is a way to just up level as opposed to wearing the standard expected type dress, because this also flatters you better and also looks better on you. So I know a lot of times when I don't feel so great about when 10 years ago when I worked in corporate and I didn't feel so great about what I was doing, I wasn't showing up 100% in what I was doing because I was like, is my stomach hanging out? Like, can someone, I'm looking down and I see that. Can someone else see that? So it may just be changing what you're wearing and something that looks better on you and is more flattering because you're just showing up more confidently and more presently.
So
Another way also
I was
is
just
to
going to
just change
combine
the
though.
blazer. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to combine, like, okay, so we have this and we're dealing a lot with more of the actual work day, but what about combining some of this into our casual so that we do end up incorporating it back eventually into the work day and it's more of an up level? So how do we do
Sure.
that?
So the
You
other thing
talked a bit about it
that I
before.
wanted to touch on was just kind of switching out from like the plain black suit to maybe it's a black suit that's like a little bit more architectural, or changing the black to a white, and this is a little bit more casual, how the sleeve goes up and it doesn't have the collar. So again, it's just like a different look. You're still wearing a suit, but it's not your typical one. But any of these blazers that are a little bit more casual, you can wear out to dinner with a pair of jeans. Like they kind of like this here, not so much. You're not really going to wear out to dinner with a pair of jeans. You could, but it's a different look. But so any of these here would look great with a pair of jeans with just, a little, a t-shirt underneath it even would look great. But getting back to your question about how to take this and then bring it into the weekend, any of these pieces here worn together kind of is a version of something that's a little bit more formal. But when you take them apart, they can be worn more casually. So again, this t-shirt, this shirt here, if paired with a pair of jeans, would be something that you would wear to dinner with your husband. Or this skirt here can be worn with a more casual top and can be worn on a Saturday if you're going to something. So kind of just thinking of your wardrobe in a different way. Also, any of these tops here that you would have worn under a suit. You also can throw on with a pair of jeans or a pair of pants or a pair of shorts even, and wear them more casually. So it's just thinking about your wardrobe differently, just not classifying things. That's a work shirt, I only wear it to work. Like, things are different now. A lot of people are going into the office maybe once a week, if even that, but then they're also working from home. So you want to make sure that your wardrobe that you had before, that you're still wearing it. Like, you had a closet full of clothes, and now I find with some people, when they start talking to me, they wear the same 3 things over and over again. But I'm sure there's shirts that you were wearing to the office that you could be wearing now with maybe a pair of jeans or a more comfortable pair of pants than to be wearing it with a suit.
I just want to touch on what we're getting raised in the questions is about basically that, you know, changing the culture so that the values women that values women based on their appearance. But what I really want to emphasize with what we're trying to do today is not so much put the emphasis on us and valuing our appearance to others. It's about valuing our appearance to ourselves. And when you started the conversation with me today, you were talking about how, you know, when you come into the room and you've done this with your style, you're basically coming in with yourself empowered and having confidence about how you look, how you feel, and how you are presenting yourself to somebody else. So to me, by looking at our clothing and looking at how we can up our level and up our style and actually get down and drive down to our own unique style, we're actually empowering ourselves. It's not about the other person, it's about us and how we feel internally. So I just want to move on into our messaging. And one of the things that comes across a lot is about, you know, different colors do different things. So what is the message that we're sending with our clothing that we may not want to be sending, or what could we be sending that would actually help us? So what are your thoughts on some of that?
Sure. So it's 2 things. It's color, and then also the actual physical structure of the clothing is sending out 2 different types of messaging. So when it comes to color, anything that is dramatic. So I would say black and white is dramatic. It's very high contrast. You notice the contrast. Red, anything that is very vibrant, that draws attention to you. All of those things are things that are colors that are sending messages that you want to be heard, that someone should be listening to you, that not that it's brash, but it's something that is like very like politicians wear red a lot, like, and it's saying, like, listen to me, like, I have something to say. I'm not a wallflower. I'm not go with the flow. I am the law. So if you think about it in that respect, if you're wearing something that's either high contrast, very loud, very warm, very like pink, orange, like hot pink, like not just like baby pink, those are things that are very like, I need to be heard, and may also come off as cold, like in the sense of being like, my message is very important. I may not be listening to your message so much. But on the flip side, if you're wearing something that's more muted tones, like any of these colors here are more muted, they're kind of more pastel, they have shades of white and shades of gray mixed into it. These are colors that are thought of to be approachable and friendly, and someone who's sensitive, and someone who is going to listen to others' feelings. So
You don't think they're too wishy-washy for a woman to be wearing?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, you don't think those are too wishy-washy for a woman to be wearing, that you're trying to be in a room with you know, perhaps a number of different people, and you want to up-level it?
So then you would take, you know, this top and you would wear it with a navy blue blazer. So this
Okay.
to kind of mix and match that. And it's knowing your situation. Like, there's days when maybe you're in front of a courtroom, and then there's other days when maybe you're like delivering bad news to a client. So like, but if you're wearing a red blazer delivering bad news to the client, they're going to be like, I don't know if she's really being sensitive to my feelings right now. So it's really kind of knowing the messaging that your clothing is sending off. The other thing is also the structure of your clothing. So if your clothes are very tailored, very like angular, very to points, very fitted, again, that like sense of authority comes out. If your clothes have like more of a feminine detail, or have a little bit more movement, or like this here doesn't have a collar, it's something that's a little bit more approachable. So it's like, it's a combination of the two, the color and also the structure of something.
Someone just made the point that dark colors or solid black can be intimidating to some clients. When you're dealing with, say, for example, more vulnerable clients, not a business client, but more vulnerable people, what would you suggest would be some colors that we might want to consider?
These. Like a gray, you would want to be wearing like a gray suit, or maybe it's not navy blue, maybe it's like a lighter shade of blue, or it's something that's more of these muted tones, or even those jewel tones that we went back to are beautiful tones, but they're not black. It's that black and white that's intimidating.
Right. Okay, so what about color analysis? What can we learn from color analysis?
So the idea behind color analysis is that there are 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, that are colors that look good on us. And there's what's flattering to us, has nothing to do with the messaging whatsoever. So it's the colors that when we wear them, someone gives us a compliment. Like, did you just go on vacation? Did you color your hair? Like, what's going on? On the flip side of that is the colors that don't look good on you are the colors that make you look like you didn't get a good night's sleep, or that you're sick, or that you feel like you need to keep putting blush on and it's not working. So those are the colors that you want to avoid. As far as doing a color analysis, there also is 2 different sets, is that there's warm tone undertones and cool undertones. So the idea is if gold looks better on people and kind of those warmer colors, or if silver looks better on people and more of those cooler tones. So it's just something that is very good to know, because it's good to know what colors look good on you and what colors you should be avoiding, especially if you are someone that doesn't typically wear color. Having a way of being introduced to color is, and you know that it's going to look good on you, you're much more willing to take a chance with that. There's a few ways to get a color analysis done. You could hire a personal stylist or someone who's trained in color consultation. You also can go to a makeup counter. Typically, they are trained in color consultation. And then when the colors that they're putting on you as far as eyeshadow and lipstick would be the colors that would be flattering in your clothing as well. Or you could just kind of play in your closet and hold things up. When you start kind of putting one and another, it's very, very dramatic when you're looking in the mirror to see what looks good and what looks bad on you.
So for somebody with your skin tones, you're obviously more richer skin tones versus me, who looks really pale on this Zoom call. So what would you suggest comparing us? What would we do differently?
So you would stick to the cooler tones, which are the tones that are here, and a little bit more pastel, because you don't want to be overpowered, where I would be fine wearing darker tones and more saturated colors.
Okay, great. I have a great question here. In any spaces, should we consider toning down our style because of the extra attention you receive from less fashionable counterparts? So what about that?
I always say that you should know your audience, that you kind of should know what is expected of you and what their expectation is. So there's definitely been times when I've had to tone myself down when I've been speaking engagements. I think the most important thing is to know your audience, and then also know your comfort level. I mean, it can get into a much bigger conversation, is like, is this where you want to be if you feel like you need to tone yourself down and what you want to be doing? But there always is that moment in time when you feel like, okay, I'm not wearing the tight dress in that courtroom. Like, or, okay, I don't care if it's 7,000 degrees, the blazer is not coming off because I once, had that situation. So it's just really about like knowing what it is and then being fine with it. And then also not letting it intimidate you and just kind of go with the flow about it.
I guess it's part of what you were talking about earlier when you're up leveling your clothes and incorporating different things into it. It's a process. So that's part of the process, and knowing the audience. We also have a question about what colors we should consider when going to trial, especially if you want the other side to take you seriously but not be scared of you. I think that's an excellent question, because being in the courtroom, I think, has so many different variables that you're trying to manage. You're trying to manage your like how you come across to the judge, to the opposing counsel, to the witness, to if it's a jury trial. So what are your thoughts there? That's kind of a complicated
Yeah, I
question.
actually had, I was on a call with someone last week and they told me that someone was doing, they had a jury intake questionnaire, and a question that was asked by multiple people was, where did you get your blue dress from? Like, she's like, oh my God, this is what people are asking. So really, like, people are, are looking at what you're wearing. I wouldn't wear red, but I would suggest wearing burgundy. So if you take those power colors, like that are really, really powerful, and just toning it down just one notch, because you don't want to be thought about being unapproachable, especially by a jury. So like the being unapproachable by opposing counsel, totally fine. But you want to kind of step it down just a little bit. So instead of red, I'd wear burgundy. Instead of black, I'd wear navy. Like, and then it's okay to show your personality. Like, it's okay to wear a necklace. It's okay to wear a pair of earrings. It's okay to wear a shoe that's not black that matches your top. Like, I think that makes someone take you seriously and being like, wow, she thought about what she was wearing and she's showing up, as opposed to just kind of wearing a bunch of random stuff. But I would definitely like take the highest level and then tone it down just a little bit.
So with the color analysis, just going into that, do we take a color, if we're not going to somebody and we just want to kind of look at it ourselves, can we take colors and do them on a sliding scale that we can incorporate different versions of that color once we figure out the one that's suitable for ourselves? Like, how could we do it?
It's hard. Like, there's a complete science, and I had to go to school for weeks to figure it out. So the thing is with colors is there's tones that go into it, there's saturations that go into it, and it's kind of different on everyone. So there isn't like a hard and fast rule, but usually if, let's say, there's a grouping of colors and the saturation, which is like the amount of gray or amount of white that's in there, if you kind of pick to that family within other colors, it would look better on you. So like, let's say if jewel tones look good on someone, if you took anything that was purple, that was a rich purple. If you took anything that was pink and it was a rich pink, if you took anything that was blue, like that sort of saturation of it, like everything here is kind of has a little bit more of a gray scale. So this would be all flattering on someone. So it's hard. I wish there was like there's a reason why people pay for color analysis. So
It's not so easy.
Hard and fast rule.
Okay, great. So when we look at the color analysis, we also have to incorporate, the jewelry, the shoes, the makeup, everything that goes along with it as well then.
Yes. The color analysis really is about what looks good by your face. Like, that's the main focus of it, is like what colors brighten your face, make you look alive, show a natural radiance and glow. So the color analysis has nothing to do with what shoes you're wearing, what pants you're wearing. That more has to do with what looks good on you, and how to complete your outfit. So the color analysis has to do with what's by your face.
Okay, I just meant like in terms of the colors that we're combining. So let's just go on to having put this all together. We've looked at some of the different situations, up leveling, what we can wear in different places, some of our messaging. And now I'd like to ask you about how do we do this with attracting our ideal client?
Sure. So the idea of the ideal client is to have know, like, and trust. And the best way to do that is to be consistent. So if you have, let's say you've done some of this work and you're like, okay, this is kind of my style. I'm going to try to wear these types of shirts. And then these sort of colors, is to make it be consistent, because you never want someone to see you as wishy-washy and that you're unsure of yourself. So kind of come up with a game plan and think of it more of a strategy, because again, it goes into personal branding. So you want someone to kind of maybe not see your face, but know it's you. It also makes getting dressed and putting outfits together so much more seamless, because everything kind of goes together. If you have this uniform of different silhouettes that look good on you and different colors that look good on you. So you just want it to be consistent, because if you think about it, if you show up one day, like let's say wearing a long skirt, and the next day you're in like a very, very severe, like structured blazer, it's kind of like, well, who's she going to be tomorrow? So you want to kind of stick with a style, have it, yes, evolve, but you just want to stick within the same theme, because consistency is key when it comes to messaging, when it comes to personal branding, when it comes to the colors that you're wearing. You want to be known for something.
So you're basically branding yourself. It's part of your marketing. It's the way that you empower yourself. So when you enter the room, it's a statement. It's not a statement that's uncomfortable. It's just a statement of your confidence in yourself and how you see yourself and how you're pulling it all off together.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions, just type them in the chat and we can take some questions now just as we're wrapping up. So Melanie, tell us as we wait, what you do in terms of providing services to people.
Sure. So I work with people on two different things. I either work with them really on transforming their style, helping them figure out what their style is, and using their current closet and making sure it matches the new style that works for them, show them how to create outfits with what they already own. When it comes to flattering their body type, showing them colors that wear for them, that flatter on them, kind of like go through this whole entire process that we were talking about before, the whole color analysis, body type analysis, and making the most of what you already have, but up leveling it into a different way. And then making suggestions for a few things for them to purchase. So if they, kind of had a lot of black suits, being like, okay, this is a different color suit that you could buy, or this is how we could change your black suit and make it different. And then what I do is then they have pre-planned outfits on an app on their phone or on their computer. So when they go into those situations, they know exactly what to wear from head to toe. So there's absolutely no confusion. There's no overwhelm going into the closet. We've talked about all the things, all of their own insecurities, all of what they want the other people to think about when they walk into the room. So that's really more of like the style transformation. The other thing that I work with clients on is branding themselves with style, which then goes more into what are your values, what do you want to be known for, helping them pick out a signature color palette, signature styles, goes more into a lot of like messaging on attracting your ideal client too. So that's kind of more of a holistic approach to how to up-level your business along with your style than just focusing on your style. And I do that in person and virtually.
So you can do a complete makeover, I would call it, but without the grief, so that you're actually using what the person has to start the whole process and then to take it to what we've been talking about today, which is up-leveling. So we can, even if we are going to start small with ourselves, take some of what we've learned today in terms of up-leveling our clothes, combining the different things that we've been talking about. So it's not just the professional, but it's the personal and the professional. And I think one of the most important things that we touched on today is the Zoom. And I understand that you actually have a specific Zoom related service. How does that work?
So I have a video that I can send out. I could put it in the link to everyone. And it's about basically a 30-minute video of how to look good on Zoom, because, I touched on a few things, but there's a ton of other things that has to do with lighting, where you're sitting, how to put outfits together for Zoom. So if anyone would like access to that, I can drop the link into the chat so they could sign up to receive that.
Okay, I want to thank you very much, Melanie, for coming on and talking with us today about empowering women. It can be quite a sensitive topic, because we don't want to be seen as undermining where we are and our authority and what we're trying to achieve in law. But at the same time, I think there's a reality that we need to be able to put together our way of style and empowering ourselves to enter the room with it. So thank you very much. How should I dress as a marketing consultant for lawyers? Interesting.
Oh, that's a good one. But you want to, I always think you need to have your client in mind. So you don't want to seem like you understand their world, but you want to be like the most up-leveled version of your client. So they look up to you and they're going to, especially you're an authority. So you're the person in this whole situation that gets to take the chances, that gets to wear the red blazer and do all of that, because you guys have fun with that. But I always think that you need to be the most up-leveled version of your client.
Right. How about any suggestions for people with curvy bodies?
Stop trying to fight it and embrace it.
Wow, that's empowering. And how do you do that?
I mean, there's a million different types of curvy bodies because, you know, we all have our own version of curvy body. But really figuring out what flatters you and looks good on you. So if someone who carries some weight on their bottom, you want to embrace it and not kind of cover. Like the worst thing to do is to cover. You actually make yourself look bigger. So it's, you know, having beautiful lines, having a flow continue, tucking in when it's needed, have things being tight in one area and loose in another. It really has to do with, like I said, embracing what you have. And that's what I do as a stylist. I know there was a question before about kind of bringing up the idea of people should like you for who you are and, you know, not conforming. But the whole idea of working with a personal stylist is showing someone who they are in their best light, because we are our own worst critics, especially attorneys, because you're trained to see the negative, because you want to always come up with what can happen in the worst case scenario. And you shouldn't be doing that to yourself, because you should be walking around with a magnifying glass looking at everything
Right.
that could be wrong. It's about looking at what's right and what you're enjoying doing. So it may not be, you know, going to a fancy department store and buying a whole new wardrobe, but how can you do a little bit more of what feels good to you and what you're excited about? So in everyone, it's their own version of that. But I would encourage anyone who kind of curvy body, do not fight it, embrace.
Okay, and one last question. This person says that a gray suit would basically kill them. They have a creative background as well. What do you suggest if it's not the
I
gray suit?
suggest them having fun with it. Like I don't know. I used to own a gray suit when I was in corporate, but no one says that you can't wear a blue suit, and maybe you don't even need to wear a suit. Like you could wear a textured blazer with a pair of navy blue pants, and there's so many millions of suits that are out there. If you go on to Reese.com, they have beautiful colors of suits. I think that they hardly even make black suits. So I would just find your signature color that you're really excited about when we go back to that branding, and then buy a suit in that color, and then buy complementary colors to wear underneath it.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, now we are going to end. Anybody who would like to can connect with both Melanie and myself, Faye Gelb, on LinkedIn, and we will be sending you this Zoom update as well as a recording from today's podcast. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.